How's it going, everybody? Trying a little bit, something a little bit different this week rather than the normal video. I hope you like this way. If you do, leave a comment below. If you'd like me to go back to the old format, let me know either way. Um, just trying something a little different. So let's get started with what we've got on the lineup for this week. Tonight, of course, we had SMU taking on Tulane. Here in a little bit, we've got, I'm going to have SMU over Tulane. Of course, I think Shane Buechele and Sonny Dykes will get the win. Just too much offense from the Mustangs. Then I've got BYU over Houston. Just got too much love for Zach Wilson and the Cougars. The Blue Cougars, not the Red Cougars. I just like Zach Wilson too much. There's just something special about him and this BYU team, I think. Now, it is 2020. I could be totally wrong about that. There's not really a lot to go by with Houston. They only have the one game, considering their whole September slate was either postponed or canceled. Oddly enough, due to other teams' beer flu problems, none of their own. But either way, I just think BYU was probably looking ahead to this matchup. Is probably why they struggled a little bit against Texas San Antonio last week. Which isn't excusable. You shouldn't struggle against a team like that, but go ahead and slap me on the wrist. I'm going to excuse it because I think Zach Wilson is that good, and I think they'll bounce back and get the win over the Red Cougars. I'll take the Blue Cougars. Alright, and now let's move on to tomorrow's games. We've only got a couple in the Conference USA. Army taking on Texas San Antonio. Got to go with the Black Knights over the Roadrunners. Got to go with Army in that one. And then Western Kentucky versus UAB. And I'll stick with the Blazers there. Then in the AAC, we've got South Florida at Temple. I'll go with the Temple Owls to hold down the nest in Philadelphia. I've got Temple in that one. Then we've got Navy at ECU, and I'll stick with the Armed Forces team. I'll stick with the Navy midshipmen. Then we got Cincinnati at Tulsa. Now that's only a 3.5 point spread, which that don't really matter. Cincinnati's a very good team, but that shows the respect that the bookies have for Tulsa and their home field, even in 2020. When I know, as far as crowd noise, 2020, it's just not the same for obvious reasons. But I still like Cincinnati and Luke Fickell. So I'm going to stick with the Bearcats on this one. And really the prime matchup in the AAC tomorrow. This game would have been a lot bigger on the national radar had Central Florida not got upset last week, and Memphis, if they hadn't lost to Southern Miss, this game possibly could have been a top 15 matchup, at the very least, a top 20 matchup. But I think Memphis will win. Brady White and that Memphis offense, even though they had almost a month off, and SMU jumped on them very quick. Memphis got back into the game, and despite many mistakes, they were in it right until the end before SMU would kick a field goal to take the lead for good late in the game. But Memphis was right there till the end, and I think they'll get the win over Central Florida, who has been decimated by the beer flu holdouts. And I think it finally caught up with them last week, and I think that trend will continue tomorrow. And now to the Atlantic Coast Conference. We've got Liberty taking on Syracuse, and if it wasn't 2020, I would have no problem with saying Syracuse would handle Liberty with no problem. But something about this is just off. And it would not shock me at all tomorrow night to be looking at the scores and seeing that Hugh Freeze pulled the upset. And I don't know. I'm just going to stay away from it. I'm going to say Syracuse will get the win, but don't be shocked. Do not be. I won't be shocked at all to turn on the tube or get on the phone and see that Liberty has stunned Syracuse. Actually, it wouldn't be stunning. Liberty's already pulled a couple out of the hat already this year. So I guess nothing really that stunning about it. Then back to conference opponents. Virginia versus Wake Forest. I'll go with the Cavaliers. Boston College versus Virginia Tech. Now, the Hokies, they got smoked on the ground by North Carolina last week. I think they gave up 399 yards rushing. But they put up some numbers themselves. I think the Hokies will get back on track. They should handle the Boston College Eagles fairly well. Miami looking to bounce back after their loss at Clemson last week. Pitt's not the type of team you want to go and feel sorry for yourself about. If you do, you're going to lose 2 games, not just one. If Miami is going to be back, quotation marks, back like they claim to be, they're going to have to quit falling into these bad habits of when they lose one, losing 2 and 3 in a row. They can't let a hangover drag on. If you get beat, you got to gird up your loins and move on. You can't let a loss carry over to the next week and the week after. One loss cannot run your entire year. And until Miami learns that, which I'm hoping they have under Manny Diaz, I think this is hopefully a new age. I think De'Aaron King can be that leader they need to push them through. He seems like a great, bright young man to really push them through. So I'm going to have confidence in the Canes that they'll bounce back this week and handle business against Pittsburgh. Then North Carolina versus FSU. God, it is 2020. Number 5, North Carolina, a 13.5-point favorite at Florida State. I mean, just say that. I mean, back in 2017, did you think you would be saying number 5 North Carolina, or did you think you would be hearing number 5 North Carolina, a 13.5-point favorite at Florida State? Not at North Carolina. Well, I mean, a 13.5-point favorite over Florida State anywhere on the moon would have been shocking. But a 13.5-point favorite at FSU. And that's just hats off to Mac Brown. What the old timer can still do at his age, just incredible. It just shows how great he really was and how underappreciated he was at Texas. I think the entire nation took him for granted. Those 10 and 11 win teams he had at Texas. And then we've got Clemson versus Georgia Tech. Clemson's going to do what they do. They'll handle Georgia Tech just fine. Notre Dame versus Louisville. Louisville really struggling this year. Notre Dame, as long as they don't mess around early, if they take care of business quick, they should be fine. Duke versus NC State. I'm going to go with the Blue Devils pulling the upset. They're a 4.5-point underdog. I think Duke will get the upset. Chase Bryce, they got a win last week, getting their first win of the year. Coach Cutcliffe, I think they'll get the win, and that'll do us for the ACC. Now, there's only one game in the Big 12, Kansas at West Virginia. Everybody else was either bye. I think there was one more cancellation. Baylor and forget the other team. I think it might have been Iowa State, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look that up later. But I know it was Baylor and somebody else were postponed. It might have been a makeup non-conference game. But either way, the only Big 12 game going on this week was Kansas at West Virginia, or is Kansas at West Virginia. And, of course, go with the Mountaineers. Les Miles could make the trip, but he will not make the trip with the Jayhawks. Now on to the SEC, where they say it just means more. And let's get things started with Texas A&M at Mississippi State. Wow. Mississippi State starting the season on top of the world after going and getting the upset in Baton Rouge and then losing to Arkansas, breaking their 20-game SEC losing streak, and then last week completing the onslaught by only scoring 2 points at Kentucky, and just the brutal meltdown was complete last week. Now Mike Leach and Mississippi State trying to pick up the pieces of what was such a promising start has now been blown to smithereens, and I don't think it's going to get any better. You got Texas A&M coming in here with momentum, finally got that significant win, that program-changing win they felt they needed. They got that over Florida last week. Jimbo, Kellen Mond feeling like they're over the hump finally. And I think they'll handle Mississippi State pretty well. So if I'm A&M, if I'm A&M and Jimbo, I want to get in there, score quick, knock Mississippi State out fast, break their confidence. Don't let them get any confidence, and you should be fine. So I think A&M will be. It's only a 6.5-point spread, though, and those bookies can be tricky, but I don't see a team beating number 5 Florida and then losing to a team that can't score a touchdown against Kentucky. I'm sorry. No offense to the Wildcat family out there. Speaking of Wildcats, Kentucky at Tennessee, another 6-point spread. You got Kentucky at Tennessee. The Vols looking to bounce back. Of course, Kentucky getting their first win of the season after losing to Auburn 29-13, and then losing in overtime to Ole Miss 42-41. I think Tennessee will bounce back. It's going to be a little bit of a tough game, I think, in the first half, but Tennessee should take it over in the second. About how Georgia did to them, just a little reversal of fortune, if you will, and I think the Vols get back on the winning track. Jeremy Pruitt seems to have them on the right track. They're just not there as far as talent goes, not yet, but the Vols will get the win and get to 3-1. And then Ole Miss at Arkansas. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, hats off to him for an absolutely beautiful, beautiful game plan against Alabama last week. One of the best game plans and execution of a game plan that personally I've ever seen. Just magnifico. Really, really hats off to you, Lane. And Mac Matt Carroll for executing it so well. Over 600 and I think 638 yards of total offense. Incredible. Not to say I did not enjoy it too much, considering I'm an Alabama fan, but you do appreciate greatness when you see it, and it was that was Lane Kiffin at his best, needless to say, and I do think they'll get the win over a tough, feisty Arkansas team. Hats off to them as well, beating Mississippi State a couple weeks ago, and then going toe-to-toe with Auburn last week. And so Arkansas, they're getting back, trying to get back to their old ways under Houston Nutt. So, they're getting there. There's some scrappy hogs, that's for sure. And speaking of their opponent last week, last but not least, we've got the Auburn Tigers and the South Carolina Gamecocks. To me, this is quietly the most important game for the future of the SEC, other than Bama and Georgia, and I mean by the coaching staffs. Because I think the loser of this game will be directly on the fire in the grill, especially if it's Will Muschamp. I've already seen reports of how much his buyout contract is, how much it is to buy out his contract. You hate it for Will Muschamp. I really thought he had the thing turned around last year, but after Ryan Tannehill got hurt and just things have turned south, especially having to play in the same state with Clemson. And Gus Malzahn, even though he's had a little bit more success, well, compared to Malzahn against Clemson, he's had a lot more. I mean, compared to Muschamp against Sweeney and Clemson, he's actually had a lot more success against Saban in Alabama. But, Auburn fans want more than just beating Bama. They want to contend for SEC championships. They want to contend for playoff berths, and you can't blame them. You don't want to just knock somebody out of something. You want to be in the dance yourself. And Auburn fans, rightfully so, they have some of the best facilities in the world. They have some of the best fans in the country, and you can't blame them. They want more. And they see LSU, they see Alabama, they see Georgia. You see your conference rivals accomplishing these things, and you see that you're right on the precipice of it, and you just can't get there over that hump, and it gets aggravating, Especially, you've done it once in 2010, but that just makes it hungrier. That just makes you crave it more. Once is just a tease. And so I really think things could be bad for whoever the loser is. And I actually think it will be Will Muschamp. I think Auburn with Bo Nix will have enough to squeak by. And now, the game of the century, part 13. Nick Saban, the big news, of course, Coach Saban testing positive for COVID-19, the beer flu, the Rona, whatever you want to call it, as you will. Coach Saban now has had 2 negative tests the past 2 days. If Coach Saban is to pass, if he tests negative again tomorrow, he will be cleared to coach. If not, obviously Steve Sarkisian coaches. To me, that makes a little bit of a difference, not a big one. I think either way, the players are going to be pumped to play for him. If he's not there, I think they're going to be really jacked to play for him if he is there. It's going to be big because it's Kirby Smart coming to Tuscaloosa for the first time since he has taken the Georgia job. The other times have been in neutral settings. And I think this is going to be a little bit more personal. Uh, I'm not going to make a prediction on it because, as a Bama fan, uh, obviously, if I picked them, I would just be being biased. And I think if I picked Georgia, I would be. It would be untruthful because, anyways, I digress. I'm not making a pick. Um, I do think if Georgia is going to win, I think what they need to do, I think their best path to victory, obviously, is to take away the pass, try to make Alabama run the ball. Ole Miss had a garbage run defense. That's why Alabama was so successful. But against other teams like A&M and even Missouri gave Alabama trouble running the ball. Alabama struggled in run protection. And I think Georgia's front seven might be good enough to stop Alabama's running attack without having to overload the defense and linebackers. So if I'm Kirby Smart, and I'm sure Kirby's a defensive genius. I don't think he needs some hick from Alabama telling him how to run his defense. But I would make sure Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, John Mechie, they don't beat me. If I get beat, it's because Alabama has to pound the ball 25 to 30 times. They need to make sure that Alabama plays Georgia football. And if you lose that way, well, at least you lost your game. And that's the best you can do. Alabama has tremendous talent on offense. Mac Jones isn't the most talented quarterback Alabama has ever had, but he's efficient. He takes his time, and he gets the ball to the playmakers, and that's all you can ask. He doesn't make stupid mistakes usually. Now, being a big game, he might try to force something, but it's highly unlikely. He's not a risky guy usually. Even the picks against Auburn last year in the Iron Bowl, now the one was stupid, but the other one was a tipped pass off of Harris's head. So you're more than likely not going to get Mac Jones to make a big mistake. So I would keep Alabama. I would stay in front of them, and that's how I would attack it. But like I said, Kirby Smart is a heck of a lot smarter than I am, and I just hope Coach Saban gets to play or gets to coach. I mean, I know that would be crazy, Coach Saban out there playing. But I hope he gets to coach because I'm sure Georgia fans don't want us Alabama fans having an excuse, which I would never, shrink to that level. Oh, well, we didn't have Nick Saban, so that don't count. A loss is a loss. If Georgia was to win, it would be that. Coach Saban, I'm sure, even though he's participated in this game plan, even if it is through a Zoom call. I guarantee you he is in Steve Sarkisian's head. But either way, I hope you've enjoyed this. I know it's different than what I usually do. If you enjoy this way better, let me know. Leave a comment. If you prefer the old way, let me know that. If you don't want to leave anything but a like or subscribe, that's fine too. I will be trying a couple of different things over the next few weeks. Just trying to get the best content for the channel to see what's most successful for us here at That's My Opinion Sports. Just to find out what our style is and what makes our sports telling and how we talk about sports the most effective way for us. So I hope you enjoyed it, and you take care. We will have our pro in the same format. All our content this weekend will be in this form. And like I said, things might be a little different next week. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But until then, y'all take care. God bless. Peace.